Welcome to Let's Talk Petty. Remember, we are not petty, but we sure love talking about it.
Yes, we do. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Kate.
And we've got another episode for you this week. We are going to talk about the Dassler Brothers, Adolf and Rudolph. Interesting.
Who did my grandma name them?
It's not Ronald and Donald, but Adolf and Rudolph.
Were they twins?
No.
Oh.
They were not twins. They started a shoe company, which eventually we're going to learn turned into Adidas and Puma.
I love Puma.
Is that your favorite of the two?
Yep.
I'm not going to lie. Before we started this episode, I went and looked because I know I had a pair of Puma shoes and I was going to wear one of each while we were recording just for fun, but I could not find one. So I chose to wear no shoes.
That's a good choice.
Yeah.
Got to be comfortable.
I'm comfortable with my choice. So you ready to start?
I'm ready to start. I'm excited. I'm always excited, though.
Always excited.
I am. I think that's just my level all the time.
It is.
I
could probably talk about anything right now, like the flavor of my tea, and you would just be super excited to hear it.
I don't know about that. I don't know. What kind of tea is it?
I don't even know. You made it.
I did.
What a ridiculous question.
Now it's going to annoy me until I remember what kind of tea I made you.
All right. So anyway, we're just going to completely skip over that.
Chai. I made you chai tea.
It is.
I remembered. Yes. Score.
What a great bunch of banter this is. People are going to love it.
They are not going to skip. Because if anybody loves anything about a podcast, it's all the banter in the beginning.
I tried to get to the point, say what we were going to talk about, and we started talking about chai tea.
Now everybody knows that you're drinking chai tea. Oh, they're happy. That's all that matters. So continue.
Continuing now. So these two were brothers from Germany. They were born in Germany in the early 1900s.
So you are finally telling a old story.
I'm getting into the old-timey. Well, Houdini was kind of in the
he was.
old-timey.
Yeah, you're right.
Not as old as these guys from when they were born. They were older, but same time area, different country. So they were born in Germany. They came from a very poor family. Okay. And I've got a lot of background on these guys and their family because I feel like it kind of sets everything up as far as them being petty towards each other because it was not pretty with the two of them together.
Yeah, sometimes you need that backstory so you can understand them a little bit.
You're going to understand them very good. All right. So their father was tired of struggling and being poor. He was a weaver, a dyer. They didn't make a lot of money. So he learned a new profession, shoe cobbling, which everyone had to wear shoes back then. Shoes wore out. So he learned it, started making some money at it.
People still use shoe cobblers.
Didn't you use one a few years ago, a cobbler?
Yeah, because I spend a lot of money on my heels, but they're worth it because I literally wear them forever. You spend good money on them and then you take them to a cobbler. Totally worth it.
Maybe you could have taken it to them if you were back then.
Yep. I definitely would have taken my 5 and 6-inch heels
to Christoph and said, cobble them.
Yes. Cobble my heels.
Well, he was pretty good at it, apparently. He he real proficient at what he was learning, did a very good job with it. So he got a job at a shoe factory and he started he was put in charge of making slippers. So he learned how to cobble, and then they're like, you can go in the slipper division and be in charge of that. I don't know how close they are, but
but I feel like back then they would call slippers.
Maybe that's what they're talking about. I don't know.
Yeah, like not the slippers we're thinking of, like bedroom slippers. But I feel like they called, I don't know, maybe I'm thinking wrong, but I feel like they called slippers something.
I'm going to imagine that he was making bed slippers.
And only bed slippers.
Only bed slippers. That's all they made. But he was in the slipper division. He was in charge of that. So he was obviously pretty good and knew what he was doing. So he was busy there. And his wife, Paulina, she was an entrepreneur and she started a laundry business at her house. So while her husband was off working, she was doing this laundry business. And apparently back then, child labor laws did not exist.
I know. They definitely did not exist.
Especially in Germany and Europe. No one cared. So the boys, Adolf and Rudolph, and just so you know, their nicknames, which I've gone back and forth about using them. What do you think Adolf's nickname is?
Dolph?
No. That would have been better.
I don't have no idea.
Addy.
Addy?
For Adolf.
That's not bad.
And then Rudy is Rudy. Or
Okay.
Rudolph is Rudy. So Addy and Rudy.
I mean, they're not great names,
It's not
but
great. So
it's better. I think Rudy is better than Rudolph.
Yes. Rudy is definitely better. And I probably will refer to him as Rudy.
Was
while
that
we're
song
talking.
around? Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer?
Probably. I don't know.
It would be terrible to have the name Rudolph. I feel like everybody would be singing that song to him.
Would you rather be Rudolph or Randolph?
Randolph.
Me too.
It's still a terrible name.
Sorry to all the Randolphs and
Isn't
Rudolphs
it
that are listening.
Isn't it from Hatfield? Wasn't that his name? Randolph or something
Was it?
similar?
It might have been.
And that's why I'm thinking
We've talked about so many people.
it's really not that bad of a name.
No. So anyways, Addie and Rudy are their nicknames. So if I refer to them as that when I'm
Okay.
looking here at my notes, that's who it is. So they were working there in the mother's laundry business. They had to earn their keep in the house, put their wages towards food in the house and everything else. So the mom washed, they delivered. So the people in the town, they saw the boys and they would deliver all the clothes that they dropped off. So
It's
she would
actually
launder.
not a bad idea. Like, that's not bad business.
Yeah. They were
Especially
successful.
when you have two boys with
Well, they had two others.
probably a
There
lot
was
of energy.
There was a sister and another brother that were helping also. So she had sent all four of her kids out to deliver the clean clothes.
Nice.
So they
Make them earn their keep.
earned their keep, and the mother was working, the father was working. So they probably were doing pretty well for themselves for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
So he turned his life around. So good for them. So Adolf finished school, decided he wanted to learn baking. He's like, doesn't want anything to do with the laundry business, didn't want anything to do with shoes yet. So he's like, I'm going to become a baker. Bad choice. Didn't last very long. He's like, nope, don't like it, don't care for it. I'm going to do something else.
Okay.
And so he was trying to figure out what he was going to do, but he did like sports and athletics. Him and his friends would play all the time. And so that was an interest of his, which when we're talking about the shoes later on, you'll see how it all ties together, his interest in athletics and sports. So they're learning all this. Their businesses are going well. Then World War I started. And the Dassler boys had to go off and fight. So the older brother Fritz, Rudolph, but Addie didn't have to go because he was just too young before he got called up and didn't have to go.
And they're in
Germany.
Oh.
Yeah.
Uh,
We'll talk more about that.
so he probably yeah. Okay.
You already know what they're kind of involved with. So be ready. Be
really all
ready for
you could
that.
say.
Be ready for that. So Addie was home. The brothers were gone. So he decides, well, I don't want to be a baker. I'm going to follow after my dad. I'm going to learn shoe cobbling.
Okay.
So his dad taught him shoe cobbling, shoe stitching. So that was something that he learned, became good at. And he actually learned that when he was playing sports and everything that he was learning with shoes, he realized that different shoes could help him perform better
Okay.
because the way they run, different things. So he came up with this idea of creating shoes for different sports that would enhance the performance of the athletes that were using them. No one else did this at the time.
Yeah, not a bad idea.
So he had this plan to give runners different shoes, soccer players different shoes. He's a kid, 16, 17 years old at this point.
I feel like they had to grow up so much faster back then.
Yeah.
Because I'm sitting here like trying to think of what I was doing
We definitely weren't
at
inventing
16
shoes
and
at
17. And
years
yeah,
old.
I would not have been thinking, oh, that's, well, of course he was thinking that.
Right. No, I definitely wasn't thinking about that at 16,
No.
17 years old.
But again, I mean, they were
Different era,
They were
different
working
country.
since they were like probably
Right.
5. So to them, it's no different.
Right. So he was going along with this idea, came up with the idea, was getting ready to put his ideas to work. But in 1918, he got called off to war. So right at the end of World War I, he just reached the age where he had to go and fight.
Bummer.
Took the idea with him, went and joined his brothers, And then war ended, they came back, and he started his own shoe business. So he had time to think about it over there, put everything together, came back, started his own shoe business.
And all 3 brothers made it through the war?
Yes.
Wow. That's actually kind of impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, they kept going. But bad news when they came back. He started his shoe business, but his mother's laundry business folded.
Oh.
Didn't have delivery people anymore, the war. So that was non-existent anymore. And you notice how I used a little wordplay there? It folded.
I didn't notice.
I thought you'd catch on to that one real quick.
I do like a good dad joke. I missed it. I'm sorry.
Wordplay dad joke, you did not pay attention to it.
I did not. I'm sorry.
Man, I had that capitalized in my notes and everything. I had to go back to it. I couldn't just let it slide.
I know we both do that. When the other one doesn't catch our joke, we'll be like, okay, so anyway, it did this. And then we, nobody can see us, but we look at each other like, huh?
Our eyes get a little bigger. So her laundry business folds up.
Got it.
Got it.
Folds up? Oh.
And so he says, oh, well, there's a shed because she did the laundry business out in their shed in their yard. So that's where I'm going to make my shoes. So he took over her old laundry room.
Her old stomping grounds.
And started up his own shoe business there. And he was just doing shoe repairs around town at first because he didn't have the knowledge or the goods to be able to make his own shoes. So he was just going around town, fixing people's shoes, probably have them drop off to him and he'd deliver them back or they'd come pick them up, whatever it was. But that's all he was doing was just repairs at this point. And with the war, that's all he really could do because economically Germany was in rough shape back then at the end of World War I for obvious reasons.
Yes, they were.
So he couldn't get a loan. He couldn't get materials. So he was struggling. He was doing okay, but he was really struggling for what he wanted to do. He wanted to do more. So he started scavenging and finding things to be able to make his shoes. So he was making these on the side, and he would find military equipment, army helmets, parachutes, stuff that was left over from the different sides, and he would put them to use and make shoes out of them. He found belts from the soldiers out in the fields.
How old is he at this point?
A little over 18, 19.
Just some people are just very driven.
I mean, he started a very successful business. So
it's just, I mean, I'm just thinking, wow, like he doesn't have the means or the parts, and he's out there just like, well, I'm still gonna make it happen. It's just some people are. And pretty incredible.
You'll be even more impressed because once he started getting these resources, he had to have a way to make the shoes. So he started making his own machines to speed up the process of making the shoes. So he's in his mom's laundry room making machines to be able to build, to manufacture his shoes. And he actually came up with this idea of a bicycle on these 2 wooden beams, and it powered one of the machines. So someone would just sit on the bicycle, and the bicycle would actually make the machine work and put the shoes together.
That's pretty nice. You're getting exercise and you're helping your brother out.
So things were moving along nicely.
I got it that time.
All right. Well, I emphasized it there for you, so you did not miss it.
You did, and the eyes went.
That was kind of a failed joke because the bike was stationary.
No, because it was moving the parts. It fit.
All right.
It went.
Then. Okay.
It does work.
I just realized that maybe that wasn't so good.
Nope, it was. It was good.
All right. So now
You could have said they weren't. They were moving, even though they were staying still. Something. Yes.
No, that wasn't great.
I liked it.
All right.
I guess that's all that matters. Anyway,
you like it?
Continue.
I will. He now has everything set up the way he wants. He's making shoes. So now he decides to take one of his ideas and put spikes on shoes. People weren't doing this at that point. He learned that the spike shoes would help athletes to be able to run faster.
So he invented that?
I don't know if he invented it, but he was the first one to actually put them on the shoes and make them popular.
Well, wouldn't that be inventing? If you're the first one to do it.
I don't know if he was the first.
Oh, okay.
But at this point, no one was using them, and he helped popularize them, so maybe he was the first one. Everything I read kind of made it seem like it was his idea.
Yeah.
But I didn't go much farther than that. I didn't figure you'd ask that question.
Why would I not ask that question? I always ask you a ton of detailed questions. Have you not listened to one of my podcasts? Or one of my episodes, I mean? I am very...
You do a lot more of a deep dive than I do.
I'm very into the details.
Yes. So he has these spikes now.
Mm-hmm.
He's got spikes, and he's even using lightweight materials on the shoes, too. So the shoes that other people were making were real heavy. They'd log
Clod
people down.
hoppers?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But he was making shoes out of materials that were lighter so that they would be even quicker. So now they're going to be running fast with spikes on their shoes. So he's giving anyone that wants to wear his shoes the advantage. And things were going really well. So this is when Rudy decides to join in. He was training to be a police officer at this point and dropped his police training and said, let's start a company. So they started the Dassler Brothers Sports Shoe Company. Not a very unique name.
I don't know. Their name is pretty...
Yeah.
I like the last name, Dassler.
Dassler.
Like you're dazzling someone. I like it.
They could have had a nice catchphrase with that.
They could have.
The Dazzling Dasslers.
Yeah. Buy our shoes.
I don't know if it works in German or not, so... Gotta remember.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
But still, well, they have to say Dassler. I don't know how dazzling...
Probably not the same as English.
Just adopt the English dazzling word. Then,
just for their business.
yes, they should. They really.
No
should
one will
have
know
thought about
what
this.
it means, but
Doesn't matter. It'll intrigue them.
yeah, maybe. We always have these ideas to go back in time, like they're actually great ideas that we're going to put to use.
Tell these guys about this.
So they join forces. Adolf was the brains. He's the one that's coming up with all these ideas. Rudy was the one that went out and sold it, helped to grow the business. That was kind of the roles that they took on. So this was in 1923. So this was, 5 years after the war ended? Mm-hmm. So it took them about that long to be able to grow it.
So Addy is putting all the work in.
Mm-hmm.
So he's the one who invented the machines, invented the spiked shoes, did the whole... what did I say? Oh, getting the shoes together or getting the material, like scavenging and all that stuff. And all of a sudden, Rudy's going to be like, oh, you did all that work? I'll join you.
There had to have been something that he brought to the table and said, hey, I can do this. I can help your business grow.
Maybe he was
something.
the dazzling one. He was the charismatic one.
He was the dazzler. One. Yeah, it sounds like he was the one that would go out and talk to people and say, hey, look at these shoes. He would sell them and talk them up. I'm sure Addy could have done himself, but...
Maybe he was a little bit better with people.
Yeah, he didn't quite have the brains of what happened, how they came about. Mm-hmm. That was all Adolf. He was the one that came up with all that.
Okay.
So we're 5 years after the end of the war. It was doing okay, but it didn't take off like it was eventually going to. So they decided, let's go big. We're going to go to the Summer Olympics. So they went to Amsterdam in 1928, and they actually got some athletes to use their shoes. They're giving, just going around asking people, and they got some. And they got a German long-distance runner to wear a pair of the Dassler Brothers shoes, and he set a world record wearing them.
Yeah.
So they got
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
it wasn't with spikes, was it?
Yeah.
He's out there cheating. What?
Well, there was no rules about it. No one else was using them.
Well, no
so
wonder
he's like, I'll take a chance. Yeah, no wonder, because he had lighter shoes. He had spikes. So now, but I mean, it was a good idea.
Yeah.
Because now everyone's like, wow, I want that too.
Yeah.
So now things are starting to take off. After that, there was an ex-Olympian. He was the track and field coach of the German team, and he says, give those to me. I want to use them. Mm-hmm. So he got his whole team to use the shoes, and they were wearing Dassler Brothers shoes anytime they had a track meet. 1932, next Olympics in Los Angeles. Now they have even more athletes wearing their shoes, winning more gold medals. So they're getting worldwide, they're getting known as the brothers that you need to wear their shoes if you want to win.
That'll grow your business.
Yeah. They did what they had to do to be in the spotlight, and it worked. Successful. So everything happily ever after.
The end.
The end of our story.
The dazzling Dassler brothers live happily ever after.
No. If you've learned by now, if you've listened to the episodes, that is not how it went.
We do like to try to make it that's what it is, though.
Would be nice if we could just end on a happy note on one of these.
But then we wouldn't have this show.
Yeah.
We'll have to do like
maybe
a
on our
opposite
last
day.
episode, our very last episode we record, we're just going to end on a happy note.
We could just have an opposite day one day. That would be fun, like SpongeBob.
Maybe.
I think I actually already told you I wanted to do that.
maybe we could do that.
Opposite day.
We did talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk more.
We'll talk about it.
So they are doing okay, but they want to get even bigger. So they branched out, and Adolf is attending a footwear course at a technical college. So he already knows a lot, but he's trying to learn some more aspects of it that he doesn't know, get more knowledge about it, and make his shoes even better. One of his teachers has a daughter.
Oh, does he
Her
fall in
name
love?
is Kathy.
Kathy.
It's Kathy. Kathe.
Hmm.
Kathy. I don't know.
I don't know either.
We'll go with Kathy.
We're going with Kathy.
Oh, and she was 15 years old.
Oh. How old is he?
He's 34, 33. They got
No.
married.
No.
Yes.
It's different.
He was
times.
34. He was
Different
34.
times.
They got married in 1934. He was born in 1900, so 34 years old. Yeah, little.
There's so many times of old stories like this that you hear that and it just.
She was not a source of being liked in their family. She was very loud. She said whatever she wanted.
What? I never.
You would never.
Loud, saying whatever you're thinking.
And she was
I
not.
cannot relate.
There was a lot of turmoil in their family over it.
Again, I cannot relate to any of this. Wow.
And Rudy,
I wish I could.
one day maybe. Rudy also got married at this time, so now they're starting to bring women into their
Oh,
lives.
God. That always makes it weird.
He got married to a woman named Friedel. You can laugh, it's okay.
I was, and then I was like, that's really mean because Friedel.
There's got to be people that laugh at American names.
We do have a lot of dumb names.
Yes.
Yeah.
Probably just as bad as Friedel. And so this kind of started a turning point in their relationship because she was very outspoken, spoke her mind, said what she wanted to do to the brothers, to the other wife, to her,
Wait, so they both married women that are very...
Oh, no. Friedel is just...
Oh, Friedel is not.
She's just your average German at this point.
It's Kathy. Kathy's are always trouble.
Mhm. So tensions are a little bit stronger at this point because of going off and getting married, starting different things while still trying to grow this business with their family. They did have one more big business moment, and this was actually really important in the story. 1936 Olympics. So they've been to a few Olympics. People see that, their shoes are helping them win.
Mhm.
They were in Berlin, so they're back in Germany.
Okay.
And this was the Olympics that Jesse Owens went to.
Mm.
And they got Jesse Owens to wear their shoes.
Okay, isn't he the one that wasn't Hitler like really mad?
Mm-hmm.
That was him.
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yes, he wore their shoes.
So wait, so the German brothers, one of which is named Adolf,
Who do have association with the Nazi Party, gave their shoes to a black man to wear who went on to win multiple gold medals wearing them.
that is
In
so
Berlin,
awesome.
Germany.
That is I already liked how much Hitler was annoyed
Mm-hmm.
that Jesse Owens was not only there, but that he was winning. Like it really bothered him, but that just makes it so much
He
better.
was wearing the most popular shoes made by German men.
One named Adolf. That is the best. I hope that Jesse Owens knew that and just made it even better. Made it even sweeter for him.
Well, let me expound on that even more. So him wearing the shoes actually saved their shoe factory after World War II.
Okay.
Because during the Second World War, when the Americans were raising through Germany and just basically destroying things and taking things, anything that had to do with the Nazis,
Mm-hmm.
they came to their shoe factory, the Dassler Brothers shoe factory. And then they realized that this was the factory that made Jesse Owens shoes. And so they left the factory there. They did not destroy it, didn't touch it, didn't steal from it, nothing. Because Jesse Owens wore these shoes.
That is incredible.
And they went in and bought shoes from the people working in the factory.
I see. This is the stuff that I love about history. I love it.
Little side points like that.
Like little details that I never knew. I knew about Jesse Owens. I knew it made Adolf Hitler really mad. And I loved all of that. This all makes it even juicier. Like, good for Jesse Owens.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody should be talking about that. Why don't more people talk about this? Like,
We're
I feel
talking
like,
about it.
Well, I know that, but I mean, you learn about this stuff in school because they do teach stuff like this in school, but you don't hear these details. Like, you do learn it, but I just find that so...
Yeah, I never knew that about Jesse Owens, but I thought that was amazing. The fact that they did not touch the factory and went in and bought shoes from them because Jesse Owens, who was a hero to Americans at this point,
yes,
wore their shoes.
Rightly so.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that is, wow. I love it.
So I fast forwarded a little bit to the end of the war. So let's go back to the beginning of World War II, 1941. Adolf was called up for duty because he didn't serve enough during the First World War. And Rudy got to stay home since he had already served as long as he needed to for the First World War. He was there from the start.
Okay.
So Rudy is home. Adolf is off fighting the war. Their factory was no longer making shoes. It was converted to making war materials for the Nazis in Germany.
Ugh.
But they let Adolf come back and run the factory. So he didn't have to go out in the front lines and fight, possibly be killed. He came back to the factory and just started making supplies. So he got off pretty easy, honestly.
I mean, yeah. So now he can make it through 2 world wars, which not a lot of people can say.
But remember, there was tension between the two brothers at this point. And Rudolph thinking, oh, he's off fighting the war. I'm going to run things for a while. But Adolf comes back being put in charge by the German government.
So not only did he start this company, but now he's also got, well, sorry, the government put me in charge.
So who does it seem like is actually running? They're two brothers running the company together, but now who does it look like is actually the person in charge, running things, responsible for things, even though he was in the beginning?
Yeah.
It's Adolf. So Rudy does not like this. He was not amused. He was not happy. He wanted his brother gone to run things by himself, prove it. He never got the chance.
So he wanted to prove something while his little brother was gone at war.
There's just a lot of things happened, a lot of animosity once they got married and different families, and they kind of separated a little bit, but still worked together. So he was not amused. He started acting very controlling about things, started acting very jealous of his brother because he was running everything. And he was jealous and controlling of his family, his brother, Kathy.
So were they already kind of petty and this just really brought the petty out?
I'm sure this is the first thing that's really talked about. A lot of the facts of this are not very well known, but you can piece everything together and really see how, if you put it in a timeline, how
from
it
like
all
reading
comes
different
together.
stories.
You have to. So his sister, if you remember her, she was helping them run the laundry business, and she was one of the delivery people.
What was her name?
Marie.
Okay.
His sister Marie. She has children.
Where's Fritz? Okay. Fritz is just...
He's probably... I think he's working at the factory because a lot of the family members are working there.
Okay.
Which is funny with this point because Marie has a couple children. They're probably 5-6 years old. And she's like, I want them to learn the business. I don't know if they were actually 5 or 6, but with what we've talked about, they probably were.
Probably.
Their
little hands stitched so well.
You can talk. You can go to work.
I mean, really, though, that is how they thought back then.
Child labor.
Oh, look, he's walking. Take him to the factory.
What age did Ron Swanson start working? He was really young.
God, he was. Like,
it doesn't matter.
He was like working at the docks at like 13 or something like that.
I thought it was younger than that. Maybe not.
No, I think it was.
So Rudy, wanting to show that he was in charge, she came to him and said, hey, can you put my boys to work? They want to learn the business. Rudy flat out refused to let them work at the factory.
What does that accomplish?
His own nephews. He said there was enough family working there. They didn't need any more. so he would not let them work at the factory. And this was just one of his petty things he was doing because he wanted to prove to his family that he was actually able to make these decisions and was still partially in charge.
Okay, you're just setting yourself up for Addie to swoop in and be like, no, they can work here. We need their nimble little fingers.
That may have happened. I don't know. But to top it all off, so his sister comes and says, let my kids work here. He says, no way. The family all lived together at this point.
So he has to see her at home?
Both of the parents are living there, their wives, the children, everyone's all living in the same house.
God, how big was this house?
Shortly after the war, things weren't great.
Yeah.
So here he is telling her, nope, your kids can't work there. See you at dinner.
Make sure you have dinner ready when I get home.
So how much stress do you think was going on in this house? Tensions were already high.
And he rolled the petty dice. It's always a dangerous game to play with family. Yeah.
So that was a very petty thing that he did by not letting his family work there. His own nephews. Another Office reference. Where she didn't nepotism. I've got nephews too, but I let them swim in my pool, but I don't let them in the house. Off track again.
I just really like always bringing up an Office.
It's amazing
Some
how
sort
many
of thing
references
from Office.
we've come up with from these stories.
You can always go back to The Office. You really can.
Get 8-9 seasons of it. You're bound to have a lot of reference. So that was one incident. And we're going to go back to the middle of the war for another one. So remember, Rudy had come home. He's running the factory. The Allies are bombing Germany.
Okay.
And so their family, they're living together. They had to go down to a bomb shelter. Like everyone probably had to back then. Hear the air raid sirens, whatever, you go down to the bomb shelter. Rudy and his family were already there. They were down there safe, waiting for the rest of the family to come down. Adolf and his wife come down, Kathy. They come down to the bomb shelter. Rudy waited until that very moment. As they're walking down, he makes the statement, the dirty bastards are back again.
What was he talking about? The Allies?
He was talking about the Allies, but he took it as he was talking about him as he's walking down the stairs.
How?
Adolf was very upset that he said this.
You are in the middle of a war.
And his wife was very upset.
But you're in the middle of a war. And this is the stuff that you're focusing on.
But why did he wait until they're walking? Why would he make that statement as they're walking down the stairs into the bunker? And he already doesn't like his brother.
Okay, but they're coming in. They're dirty bastard. Those dirty bastards are back. I don't know. To them, maybe making the state. I would just be like, yeah. How sensitive are you that you instantly are like, you're talking about me?
But if you're already not getting along with this person, you're probably going to be pretty sensitive to what they say to you. Obviously, everything wasn't great, and then all of a sudden he says this, and now he's all mad at them.
Petty people make stuff about themselves.
They do. They both definitely were very petty towards each other.
Yes.
So that was probably one of the most well-known incidents between these brothers that's talked about a lot.
Again, if they're getting by, you're in a bomb shelter. You all might die, but you're being sensitive about you have a mom. He knows you have a mom.
It shows what, it just shows what was on his mind. That's all he cared about. He didn't care they were getting bombed. He just wanted to show his dominance over his brother, I guess.
And his brother's going to instantly take offense. Just,
ridiculous. Okay. So that was another incident. Probably shouldn't have said it at that point.
Yeah.
Whether he meant to or not, who knows? They probably know it down there, but apparently they never settled it. And they've, till the time they died, they assumed that they were talking about him walking down. And his wife being outspoken, she probably took it the wrong way and convinced him, yeah, he's talking about you.
Did you hear what he called you, even though you guys share the same mom? You should be offended. How dare he? He definitely wasn't talking about the people bombing us. Nope.
So remember that, though.
Okay.
And you also remember how Adolf got to come back from the war to run the factory.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about that. Remember how Rudolph wasn't called up because he had already done his time?
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess who just got drafted into the war?
Oh.
Rudolph. He had to go back and fight.
Maybe they felt as petty.
Because this was in 1943, so right in the middle of the war when things were just falling apart. So I think they were taking anyone they could at this point, really. So Rudy has to go off and fight. Adolf got to come back and run a factory. So now Rudolph's thinking, why how is this possibly fair? He was there fighting. They called him back. Now I have to go out. So there's some of that animosity.
Or how about just be sad that you could die and then your kids won't have a dad.
Nope. It's just not fair that his brother didn't stay.
Your wife will be a widow. Oh, this stinks that I am fighting for a party that is terrible.
Nope, none of that. None of it matters. Just their feud between these two brothers. That's what matters. So he is not very happy. He's not pleased at all that he has to go to war. So he gets ridiculous about it.
Okay.
He threatens to get real petty real fast.
You want to see petty? You've seen nothing yet.
He wrote a letter to his brother after he'd gotten called up for the war.
And he's already gone?
Yeah.
Okay.
He wrote a letter to his brother saying that he was going to do what he had to do to get the factory shut down because he had to go off and fight.
If I'm suffering, y'all are suffering.
When the factory shut down, you will have to come and fight with me.
Oh my God. And then we can both die.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. Come
Not
and
happy
die
that
with
that
me.
factory could support his family if something was to happen to him. Nope, we're going to shut it down and you're going to come fight with me.
Our wives will be widows.
He never actually went through with his threat, but he actually did write that letter to his brother saying he was going to do what he had to do to get the factory shut down.
Oh.
Petty?
Well, don't call him a bastard, I guess. Think these things through, even though you probably weren't talking to him.
Neither of these guys were thinking anything through at this point.
As most petty people don't.
So Rudy's off fighting. He wants out of the war. And so he spent his whole time with the belief that his brother and Kathy somehow arranged for him to be sent off. So they're running the factory. And in their spare time, they're negotiating with the government to call his brother up and go out to the front lines and fight. He is thinking this the whole time he is out at war.
This is how it went down. Adolf uses the fact he pulls a Jerry Seinfeld when he wants to meet that comedian, Jerry, the older one. Mm-hmm. He
Jerry
pulls
Lewis.
that. Yes, we have the same first name. So he goes to Adolf and he's like, "Hey, Addie, I can call you that, right? I know, because my name is Adolf and people call me Addie. So anyway, hey, Addie, I got this brother. His name is Rudy. Can you get rid of him for me? I want to run this factory. Can you send him off to war?" And Adolf loves it. He's like, "A fellow Addie, you got it, buddy." I'm petty. Adolf Hitler was very petty as well.
He would have done it if he had asked.
Oh,
probably.
yeah, because he is, I mean, Adolf Hitler, we could definitely do an episode about him, which I do want to, very delicately, but he was super petty. But that's how I'm picturing it went down. He fed into the petty because he's petty himself.
If it didn't happen like that, I'm going to be disappointed. But
And somehow he had a New York accent, apparently. And he's like, "Hey, Addie, I'm an Addie too. You want to take care of my brother?" All of that is how it happened.
And that's exactly what his brother imagined.
Yes.
So now he's in his own head making this stuff up about his brother.
He's in his own head, and the voices are my voices of the two Adolfs going back and forth. And he's like, "I knew it." And it's in English, but he understands it all.
It's amazing how we got all of this out of his head.
All of it. But yeah, that's what happened. Got it.
So he wants nothing more than to get out of the war, get back to start running the factory with his brother again.
Yeah.
So he plots a way to get out of the business of the war by getting injured.
Does he shoot himself in the foot?
No. He had a doctor who was a friend that was there, and he went to him, and he got the doctor to write a note that basically said he had a bad foot and he couldn't fight anymore.
Foot. I keep hitting the microphone code. Foot, though. I feel like that's always the way that people who want to get injured, like that's the safest way to go. Your foot.
Well, if you can't walk, there's not much you can do.
Yeah.
If it hurts to walk, you can't run. It's the easiest thing. But when he did this and he's starting to go back, he got himself arrested.
Okay.
Somehow he got caught for deserting the army, the German army, And he ended up having to go spend a year in jail.
Wait, so I thought...
All because he thought his brother was being petty and set this all up. He got caught going back.
But but okay, first though, how... I thought he had a doctor's note to release him. But he didn't go about it right?
Apparently not. He got busted.
So he gets busted. Guarantee you, though, he blames his brother somehow for being in jail.
Of course.
It's somehow, even though he is suffering the consequences of his actions, but somehow it is his brother.
Everybody but him.
Yeah.
So he gets himself arrested for this. All because he thinks his brother sent him to the war. So now he's sitting in jail thinking, he sent me to war, now he's putting me in jail.
Now he got me in jail.
Now
how many connections does this guy have?
So the war ends. He spends his year in jail. Things are getting back to normal in Germany, starting to rebuild. Think they rebuild their friendship?
Oh, absolutely. Like we always say, they did. Oh.
Absolutely no. Let me stop you right there.
I got ahead of myself.
The problem right now that they both have to deal with is both brothers are being investigated by the Allies for their roles in support of the Nazi Party.
Well, yeah.
Long story short, neither of them technically were part of the Nazi Party. They got charged with lesser charges, so they didn't have to do jail or whatever. But one of them got charged so that they couldn't run a business.
Oh.
And that got taken down after they spent their time of that punishment. Then they were able to go back and run the factory. But during these hearings, each brother tried to sell the other brother out and say they actually were part of the Nazi Party.
That is terrible.
Even though they knew at this point what the world thought of Nazis, after the entire world was fighting against Hitler and the Nazis and everyone else, they were still trying to say, yep, my brother's a Nazi. Adolf told the Allies that his brother told him that Rudy worked for the Gestapo.
They're laying it on thick here.
And Rudolph said that Addy was helping to make weapons for the Nazis and giving Nazis support speeches in his factory.
Oh.
Which would go along with his whole thought of, the government put him there.
Yeah.
So he's trying to rile up his factory workers. So they were just basically trying to get each other locked away so they could have sole custody of the factory.
That's Rudy throwing Adolf underneath, and somehow Adolf is coming back and throwing him underneath.
All I could think of when I read that is I hope the same people were talking to both of them and they played a game to see what they could do to get the other, like what the other person was going to say, who could go the farthest.
Yeah.
And they had some side bets going or something.
Any good set of interrogators definitely would get to the bottom of that and be like, all right, you're both somehow full of crap. Mm-hmm. Somehow we're coming back with, you guys just suck. And you're using us to get at each other. So we're not going to let you. I don't know.
They should have both been put in jail just for being so terrible.
Well, so terribly petty. And that's kind of
sad what petty will cause a person to do.
Yeah,
You're
that's
trying to
really
get your brother
sad.
arrested and telling people he's a Nazi.
Oh, just because you're brothers, just because you're related doesn't mean that you guys are going to like each other, I guess.
And
but still sad.
They never would. 1948, the war is over. Things are starting. Mm-hmm. The whole Nazi everything is behind them. They're back running business like they were supposed to. And they realize at this point, nothing's ever going to get fixed. It's only going to continue to get worse. So they say, let's just split up, dissolve 50-50.
Probably should have done that
Many
long
years ago.
time ago.
He should have just bought his brother out.
Yeah.
So they even, once this happened, they even moved apart from each other. They moved to different parts of the city.
I mean, it makes sense. They were
Not
living
only
in
did
the
they
same
move
house.
to other parts of the city, they moved across the river from each other.
Oh.
So that there would be even less of a chance in their day-to-day life of running into any of the other family members. This river runs through the city, and they each chose a side.
Well, they should ask me how to get across the river.
No, they shouldn't. You would get them so lost. Maybe they should.
And they never see each other again.
But that was the whole point of the way they lived at that point, where they chose to move.
Wow.
They wanted nothing to do with the other family.
They very much petty escalated year after year. They took it to
And this
next
is only
level.
the stuff that people know about. I would love to find out the things that were never spoken of.
I don't think we would. I don't know if
No.
our brains could handle it.
It's insane. So, Adolf, what company do you think he started? Adidas or Puma? Think of his nickname.
That
Addy.
doesn't help me. Addy. Oh, okay. So Adidas. Okay.
So he took his nickname, his shortened name, and
okay.
Dassler, Adidas. That's where that came from.
That is so cool.
Mm-hmm. And Rudy started his own company. So Adolf started Adidas. Rudy called his company Ruda.
Ruda.
Short for Rudolf Dassler.
Yeah, not as good. No.
Everyone said that too, so he just changed it to Puma.
Puma. Did he take it from the cat? I know that. Isn't that like the symbol on there? So that's what he did. He's just like,
I don't know if that was the symbol at that point.
Okay. Well, that's what I'm wondering. Like,
so someone got in his ear and said, that's the dumbest name I've ever heard.
It really is.
No one's going to buy
you're just copying
Ruda shoes. Right.
You're copying your brother, who I feel like, honestly, like, he seems like he's the little brighter of the two. Still incredibly petty somehow, but brighter.
So now they've got their businesses, and now they're competing against each other.
This can go no place but good.
How great it went when they were working together. Now they're working apart with the sole intention of destroying the other business. So the very first thing that Puma did is they got the West German soccer team to wear their shoes. So they started writing them in their country, and the West German soccer team was wearing their shoes. So Rudy right away had success with Puma.
Okay.
Until Adolf came in and got the West German team to switch to his shoes.
Oh. How did he pull that one off?
Just being petty and just probably went after them. So he got them to stop wearing Puma, wear Adidas.
Yeah, when I'm thinking of like athletic, I will Adidas. I've never thought, Puma.
Well, back then, Puma was a very popular brand for athletes to wear.
That's pretty interesting. I did not know that.
So they were going after each other's business, basically.
Wow.
1960 Olympics. Rudy paid a German sprinter to wear his shoes over Adidas. He wanted to wear Adidas and said, here, take this money, wear my shoes. So he did. Now they're paying people to not wear his brother's shoes.
Is that where the whole thing of like sneakers paying... sneaker companies paying athletes to wear their shoes came from?
Yeah, it all goes back to this.
Does it really?
Mm-hmm.
These two are... It is incredible. The stuff that comes out of petty stuff. It is... All athletes need to give these two thumbs up for being so petty. Thank you, because we make money off of it now.
In fact, we're going to talk about a situation where it wouldn't even have gotten to the point today had they stuck with their agreement. But so we're at the 1960 Olympics right now. Rudy paid this German sprinter to wear his shoes, the Puma shoes over Adidas. He did. The runner's name was Armin Harry.
That sounds like Arm & Hammer.
Right. Armin Harry. He wore the Pumas, won gold in the 100-meter sprint.
Wow.
So he got paid to wear the shoes, won the gold. Rudy's happy, right? He's happy he's got his shoes on. Mm-hmm. What do you think the sprinter did? He goes up on the podium to to accept the medal. He wears Adidas shoes. No. He wanted to get paid more, so he wore Adidas shoes. Wore the Puma to the race, Adidas shoes on the podium.
Did he? So what, was he not specific in like you need to wear these all the time? You win, you wear them up on the thing.
There was some loophole.
He was not specific enough.
Some loophole. So they are just constantly just going after each other.
Wait, did Addy pay him to put the Adidas back on?
It says he did it all for, trying to get more money. So I'm assuming that's what happened. Doesn't actually say, but they are just constant. It's like all they're thinking about at this point is going after each other. What can they do?
I'm going to one up you.
They kept going through the years trying to get the biggest athletes. Adidas, Muhammad Ali ended up wearing Adidas. Mm-hmm. He made a deal with Muhammad Ali, and Rudolph got two of the biggest soccer stars in the world, got Diego Maradona and Pele to wear Puma shoes.
I know Pele.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to tell a little story about Pele here.
Okay.
The brothers' companies, their sons were very involved in the company at this point because it's in the 1960s.
Okay.
So they're starting to learn the business from their fathers for each of the individual companies. So they come to an agreement. Pele is the most popular athlete in the world, best soccer player. Everyone knows him.
Mm-hmm.
World Cup is coming up, and they say, neither of us are going to bid on paying him to wear our shoes. It's going to be too expensive. He's just going to drive the price up. Let's just agree to let him make a choice.
And
He's
these
wear what he
are
wants.
the two brothers' kids. So the
Right.
cousins.
Obviously, they've got input from their fathers. Their fathers
Yeah.
are still running the business, but they're work this deal out where they say, we're not going to go after Pele for our shoes.
Okay.
Going to cost way too much money. But Rudy, he decides to get a little bit sneaky. He's like, all right, we've got this deal with Pele, but what about the rest of the team? He pays the whole rest of Pele's soccer team to wear Puma shoes. So what shoes do you think Pele decides to wear?
Well, obviously.
So he,
Adidas.
like we talked about before, he was kind of the person that sold stuff, knew business dealings. There you go. And that's how he got Pele to wear the shoes. And he did end up paying him because Pele decided.
So he went back on his word.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, oh, you're going to be sneaky like that? Then the deal's out the window. He's getting my shoes.
Because he decided to go ahead and give the whole soccer team his shoes.
That's what I mean. So because of that, the other brother was like, oh, you're going to do that?
Well, no, the other brother didn't. He never wore Adidas. Pele decided to wear Puma shoes. And so he decided, okay, well, we'll pay you now to wear them.
Oh, he did wear so he wore Puma.
Yes.
He went along with that.
He
Not,
went
oh, I
along
thought
with
he
his
was
soccer
like,
team. Yeah.
he swooped in and was like, I like to use that. He swooped in.
But he wasn't done with just getting him to wear the shoes.
Mm-hmm.
He arranged for one of the main World Cup matches that people around, one of the most watched soccer matches ever.
Mm-hmm.
Pele was in it. He was wearing these Puma shoes. He arranged with him that right before the kickoff to call for time because he had to tie his shoes.
Oh my God.
And on TV, he went down very slowly. The cameras were on him. And he meticulously, very slowly tied his shoes with the Puma logo showing so that everyone could see he was wearing Puma shoes.
So that definitely just clinched it for me on who was pettier. I already was leaning that way.
And he also got, you've heard of the tennis player Boris Becker,
Mm-hmm.
German tennis player. He got him to wear Puma shoes also. So he's getting some big people. And
Who's the female Boris Becker?
Oof. Another Office reference. I don't remember. Sorry.
I can't remember her name now either.
Oh, what? Yeah.
Hillary Swank.
Hillary Swank. Hot or not?
Hot or not. She's the female Boris Becker.
So they've got the best German tennis player wearing shoes. So Puma's doing pretty well. I never knew he wore Puma shoes.
I didn't either.
And then the town they grew up in, this, what is it? It's called Herzogenaurach.
Yes. Herzogenaurach.
We usually go there every couple of years.
Yeah. Every spring.
Beautiful. This is the town they grew up in, and the town is actually taking sides with each of these brothers based on the shoes that they want to support.
So it is spreading to the town now.
If you worked for Adidas, you shopped at different stores from the people that worked at the Puma factory.
Oh my God.
This is everybody in the town now.
Everybody's going petty mad.
It was an unwritten rule that if you were an Adidas person and supported Adidas, you did not marry or befriend anybody that wore Pumas, worked for Puma, or supported the Puma people.
What?
It was an unwritten rule. Nobody did it in this town. This town had both factories, and it was literally divided in half, Puma, Adidas, for many years, from the 60s, 50s, 60s.
Was the river the boundary?
It actually was.
Oh my God.
Imagine living like that. I can't talk to you. You wear Adidas.
What is on your feet?
And this is not even a big town. This town has 23,000 people, which is literally the population of Jacksonville Beach.
That's insane.
So not even a big area, and they're choosing sides. And to top it all off, they have 2 professional soccer teams there. one outfitted in Adidas, one outfitted in Puma. And they play each other, and you can only imagine how those matches would go.
I just can't believe that this seeped that much in, but I also was just thinking,
but that was
what if this was...
That's what this town was known for, so
yeah,
people are going to take sides.
But what if this was their, like, these brothers' long con to just get their shoes, like, well known?
And he spent a year in jail? Yeah. That was part of the con also.
Well, no, that was a little hiccup in their little long con.
They would have done this a year sooner if he didn't have to spend that year in jail.
But so you wearing your joke about wearing one Adidas, one Puma, you would have really messed up people back then. If I had gone
back to the city in the 70s and 80s when this was really strong, I probably would have gotten torn in half.
We can't take it. So our judgment is you get sawn in half.
There's manhole covers in this town. Some have Adidas on them. Some have Puma.
Oh,
it's all over.
Lord.
And it lasted all the way up through the 2000s. But in 2009, they had a friendly game of soccer, a friendly match. Okay. They were like, we're going to put this all behind us. So the Adidas factory workers played a match against the Puma factory workers. They made special soccer balls that had both logos on them. Their jerseys each had the different logos on them. And the match went off without a hitch. So that was the symbolic end to this feud.
Okay, so it didn't turn into this huge riot?
There's still people that support one or the other, like people only wear Nike. People, obviously it's still going to happen, but not like it was. That was the end to it all. That soccer match put everything behind them.
And when did the brothers, when did they die?
Funny you say that.
Oh, okay.
So they died a few years apart, 70s, 80s, I believe.
Okay.
They both got buried in the same cemetery.
Don't tell me their coffins were one was a big Adidas shoe, one was a big Puma shoe.
I wish.
That would be amazing.
I'm sure there was something on there, but one got buried in this end of the cemetery, one got buried at the opposite end. They did not want to be anywhere near each other.
Even in death, I shall hate you.
They hated each other as they died. Their burial plots were planned to be apart from each other, so their families are all on opposite ends. Despite starting all together, working together, completely separate by the time they died. And that is the story of how we have Adidas and Puma today.
It's amazing. I love it.
Tons of petty.
They covered their ground.
Tons of things we obviously don't know about.
Nope. That we learned, and it was super interesting. This right here is why history is so amazing.
Crazy the things you learn when you look it up.
It really is. That was awesome.
I enjoyed learning about it.
Yeah.
I've been putting this one off because I knew it was going to be an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm glad I did. It kind of keeps me going.
That was really great.
Awesome. You want to talk more petty?
More petty.
Let's go to the round table.
Let's go.
All right. So we made it to the petty round table.
We did. It took a long time to get here again today. Sometimes we are so fast.
But when we're so petty overloaded, it
takes us a second.
Put some weight on you. You got to really take it all in.
You definitely need that second, because I'm pretty quick at coming up with stuff, but every once in a while I'm like, geez, they were so petty.
So chock full of petty.
They covered a lot of it, but...
And I just can't get over the fact that this is all we know about.
Yeah.
And these are really petty things. I've got to imagine there's things that happened that we will, like I said, we'll never find out about them that were even worse than this.
Yep.
Because these are bad, but it just doesn't seem like enough to cause brothers to fight with each other. Mm-hmm. So there had to have been more things along the way.
A lot more nitpicking, a lot of little stuff that just probably got under their skin that they could not let go because petty people don't let things go. Yeah, I'm sure. But I did think of another spot where, and maybe it happened, and I don't know, you didn't mention it or nobody knows about it, but Adolf could have taken advantage of that time when Rudy was in jail. He already thinks that somehow Adolf pulled off this great twist of fate to get him thrown into jail. Well, sent off to the war and then, we're assuming, into jail.
Right.
Probably voiced his opinion. Rudy voiced his opinion to his wife and somehow it got back to Adolf. So I was thinking it would have been really funny if while he was in jail, Adolf just consistently kept sending him all the different like shoes and stuff that he was still making, like to show him how he is running this factory so well. You know, even though I have to run this for the Germans, look at all these great things I'm making. Oh, I'm also designing some shirts. Maybe we could get some sports teams into these shirts and shorts, and really just showing off how great he is and how everything's going just dandy while he's in there.
Just to rub it in.
Just to rub it in. Like every single week, he's sending him a new item. Look how much I've improved on this shoe I've been trying to design. Brother, too bad you couldn't be here working on it with me, but you're in jail. Wonder who put you there. Really play into that whole, oh, you think I sent you to war? I'm sure you think I sent you to jail too, so I'm going to make you think I did.
He thinks he's getting this care package. Wow, my brother's real nice. The first one he gets.
Nope, he is not.
Hey, look at this.
Yeah. Check out how good I am
Except
doing.
I don't think they would allow shoes with spikes on them in jail. That's the only flaw I see in that.
Well, maybe it wasn't one with spikes in it.
No.
Maybe it was just a shoe.
In my mind, it had spikes, so I gotta
so that's
I gotta
it.
nix your plan. Sorry.
There's other shoes by Adidas and Puma that don't have spikes in them.
I wonder if anybody has ever had shoes sent to them in jail.
Why wouldn't you get shoes sent to you in jail?
Are you allowed to wear whatever shoes you want in jail?
I would assume that they have the kind that you have, but when you're in your cell, what are the police officers are walking around? What shoes you have on? What? I don't care if you're in your cell. Take those things off. Is that what you're picturing jail is?
No.
Okay, now I have no clue. Maybe that is what they do. And I'm just saying exactly what happens in jail.
You might have hit the nail on the head. Who knows?
They do have to take, all of their clothes off, and they get given the government issued prison garb. But I don't know.
Something they never really talk about on shows. When you see them get
you always see them getting that.
I just don't remember them getting shoes and what they have to wear.
Well, they get those. They're the really ugly white slip-on shoes. That's what I imagine when you say slippers. Mm-hmm. I feel like that was a big style back then. And so that's probably where the modern day slipper came from, like what we call slipper. But back then they wore that like, this is my slipper. I'm wearing it everywhere. And now everybody is bored to death on our take on how the slipper came about. But I don't know if you were allowed to say, how strict were they when you were in army jail?
It was Nazi Germany, so.
Yeah, they were but they were strict with other people. I mean, he was German.
But and he was put in jail for deserting the army.
He was a deserter, but still, at the same time, I don't know.
But there was probably a lot of people deserting the army, I would think.
I would hope. I'd hope everybody would be like, I gotta get out of here.
The jails were full of people.
Yeah, just in their way protesting. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be associated with that. I don't know. I don't know if he could have, but if he could have, that would have been a great little petty rub-in.
Would have taken it to another level.
It would have.
Definitely.
So that's what I thought for that one.
I was trying to think. It really would have been, they could hold this because the town was so divided, Adidas, Puma, as some sort of a punishment to keep their people working in their factories. Like you got to reach this level of production or you have to go on a date with someone from the other factory. As a punishment, the person with the least amount of production this week, you are going to go on a date with someone from the least amount of production from the other factory.
I have to go with someone from Puma? How dare you even suggest it? And then they all start working really, really fast.
They're going to work real hard because they do not want to be the person that is seen around town with the person from the other factory.
I'm going to start using that at work.
And they have to wear the opposite company's shoes. So the person from Adidas that performs the worst has to go on a date with the person from Puma, but the Puma person has to wear Adidas shoes and clothes, and the Adidas person has to wear Puma shoes and clothes.
That is quite the incentive because in that town, with how divided it is. Yeah. So this is yet another story where the petty is affecting this entire I wouldn't call that a town. I would call that a city at this point.
23,000?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just cannot even believe
they've got 2 factories in it.
Two factories. So yeah,
2 soccer.
I guarantee you that had a ton of people employed there. So that is probably why it helped.
It sounded like the whole town basically worked for one of these factories.
So, I mean, yeah, I could see why the division is there, but still if I'm working for a company and they're like, you have to hate that other company because they are the same as us, but we hate them. I'd be like, no, I'm not doing that.
And that's what everybody in this town
they just fed right into it. Yeah. So it's another story of where yet again petty has just taken over everyone's minds. Mm-hmm. It's in the water.
Well, I think we both were pretty petty with some things we came up with there. Yeah. I think we did a good job. Mm-hmm. And I think this was a pretty good episode this week.
I definitely really liked this episode. My favorite, the Jesse Owens.
My favorite is your little skit with the 2 Adolfs talking to each other.
Why, thank you. That is a little glimpse into what all of my coworkers have to deal with on a daily basis. Me and my dumb voices. Poor people.
I really enjoyed that one.
Well, thank you.
So we'll be back next week with another episode.
Mm-hmm. And it'll be my turn.
It's going to be a Kate episode. So if you're a Kate fan, you're going to be happy.
If you love that insane detail that I just cannot seem to cut down the content, then
you are going to be happy.
Yes, you are going to be very happy.
I don't know what it is, but I'm excited. I actually am excited to find out. Mm-hmm. As you can tell, I'm so excited. In my own way.
So excited.
But in the meantime, if you want to get in touch with us, you can shoot us an email, letstalkpettypod@gmail.com.
And then on Twitter, it's Petty Talk Pod.
Facebook and Instagram, Let's Talk Petty Pod. And we have a phone number you could text us or call us on, 904-446-8448. Or you can actually just go on our website, letstalkpetty.com, and we have our record feature on there where you can just leave us a message there.
You can use funny voices.
You could leave us a message in a Chewbacca voice if you would like.
I would be
from
impressed.
Our Chewbacca mini
I would
episode.
be impressed. I don't know if that's even possible.
I would like to hear someone do that.
I kind of want someone to do it now, too.
If somebody does that and gives us a whole story in a Chewbacca voice, and it's a true story, I will buy you a Let's Talk Petty t-shirt and send it to you.
Yes.
If you put it out there in a Chewbacca voice and you can go for the whole story in a Chewbacca voice, you have earned a Let's Talk Petty t-shirt.
That is quite.
It's a big hill to climb, but I feel like someone out there can do it.
You set that very high.
Watch me have to buy about 20 t-shirts.
Somehow so many people do it.
One story per person. We're going to have the one person listening that's the expert Chewbacca voice.
And an expert on all voices or something. That'd be funny.
And then, of course, you can also go to our YouTube channel where I am starting to put up full episodes. So if that's an option where you'd like to listen to them, you can listen to them on there. Maybe someday we'll put some video on there.
Maybe.
It's going to be a running joke now that we're probably never going to do. But we will at some point. It's in our plans.
Yeah.
We will.
I'm not a big fan, but yeah.
We will.
Yes.
So make sure you go on, rate. That definitely helps us a lot. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Make sure you don't miss any episodes. We have 2 episodes out a week. Tuesdays, we have our full episode. Friday, we have our mini episodes that are out. They're only about 15, 20 minutes. They're a lot of fun.
They're super fun. A little bit different content in some of them because they're just little snippets. So
for us, they're fun because there's no research. We just read the story and riff on the story. So
yes, I think I have to cut back on how many books I read per episode.
We're going to start our own library here.
We really are.
So that's going to be our episode for this week. Appreciate you listening, and we'll talk to you next time.
All right. Bye. Thanks for listening. Please be sure and give our show a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. And be sure to follow and subscribe so you don't miss an episode.